Hi everyone. So in our previous lectures we were learning about the three doshas, and as a part of this topic there are two different physiology we have to learn. One is the respiration, physiology of respiration according to Ayurveda, and the second is physiology of speech according to Ayurveda. So why we are learning, why we are including these topics during learning the three doshas? Because when we have learnt about the pranvayu, right, and when we were uh, learning about the udanvayu, right, so there were functions of pranvayu and udanvayu in that. So that is why this can be included, and this has been included in your this topic. So let's start with the respiration according to Ayurveda first. So basically, the respiration of according to Ayurveda or physiology of respiration is not being given or not being mentioned by any acharyas of Bruhadrai, right? It has not been mentioned by Charak Sushrut and Acharya Vagbhat, but it has been mentioned by Acharya Shadangdar in Shadangdar Samhita. So we are taking the reference of this thing. So this is somewhat tricky, the steps are tricky, but you have to understand, you have to learn every term, so it would be a little bit easy after that. So yeah, you can grab 10 marks if you learn this physiology, and it is one of the frequently asked questions. So let's start this. So according to Shadangdar, the breathing phenomenon takes place in the below mentioned steps. So there are different steps we have to learn to understand the physiology of respiration. So first, the pranvayu located in the nabhi, which is the navel or umbilical region, travels to Ridhikamalantaram. So Acharya has mentioned Ridhikamalantaram, which can be correlated to the region of heart. From there, it travels to the kantha, which is throat. From the kantha, the pranvayu comes out to the environment. In the external environment, the pranvayu takes or collects the Vishnu Padamrit or Ambar Piyush. Taking the Ambar Piyush with it, the Vayu once again gains entry into the body. And after entering into the body, it nourishes all the dhatus and also kindles the Jataragni or Jataranala, which is the digestive fire, which is located in the stomach. Okay, so these steps are tricky. So let's understand this. Let's understand these terms mentioned here. What is Ridhikamalantaram? What is Vishnu Padamrita? What is Ambar Piyush and all? Okay, so this reference has been taken from Shadangdar Samhita, but I would try to make it clear with the references of different research papers which have been written in this context. Okay, so it can be easily remember. Yeah, so let's start. So here nabhi matlab what? So nabhi generally explains the umbilicus or the navel region. Here we get a doubt why and how nabhi is concerned with breathing phenomena. So here are the clarifications. So nabhi is said to be the site or point of origin of shiras, which are the veins, or we can say blood vessels. But in the modern day anatomy, we see that the blood vessels start and end in the heart. We have many instances where in nabhi or navel and hriday, which is heart, are used as synonyms. Here is the trick, right? So somewhere nabhi and nabhi has been mentioned as hriday, or hriday has been mentioned as nabhi as a synonyms. So this is how in this instance we shall consider nabhi as heart and not navel. Hence, the controversy of breathing getting started from nabhi is cleared. So here nabhi has been taken as a heart or hriday. Now pranvayu. Pranvayu is one among the 5 types of vayus. We have learnt about it. Its location is said to be the murda, which is head, but it also travels in the ura, which is chest, and kantha, that is throat. But the pranvayu in this instance is said to travel from nabhi upwards. This is how it cannot be the same pranvayu explained in Ayurvedic context as one among the 5 types of vayu. So here we need to consider pranvayu as the phenomena of breathing, which is carbon dioxide or the thing or the gas we expels out of the body, right? Because when we breathe we take the oxygen from the environment and we throw out the carbon dioxide. So here we are considering pranvayu as a oxygen as a carbon dioxide, not as an oxygen. Okay, now what is Hridakamalaantaram? So Hrida or Hriday is a word used to describe the heart. It also describes the chest contents related to the heart, which is fufus or lungs. So Hriday is not only about Hriday or heart, it is about the fufus or lungs. Hriday is said to be in the shape of Kamalamukula, inverted bird of the lotus. So this is also because the heart expands and contracts like the bird of the lotus, open in the day and closes towards the evening. Similarly, we can also see that the lungs also expand and contract with each act of breathing. So in this instance, Hridakamalaantaram should be taken in the terms of lungs. Right? So here Hridakamalaantaram is not only heart, we are talking about heart, we are talking about the lungs here. Then the pranapavan or carbon dioxide located in the nabhi, which is the right ventricle of the heart, deoxygenated blood we are talking about, which touches or enters the Hridakamalaantaram in the kamals or the lotus present in the proximity of the heart, which is lungs. So this is how the first line of the verse of Shadangdar's verse explain the pumping of deoxygenated or carbon dioxide rich blood from the right ventricles into the lung through the pulmonary arteries. Right? So here we are trying to correlate the things which have been said by Shadangdar with the help of different research work which has been done till now. In Shushruta, he tells that there are 2 marmas. Marmas matlab vital organs, which are 2 in numbers, which are located on each side of the udha or chest. They carry the vat or air. They are named as apastambha marmas. This points out to the explanation of right and left bronchus, which help in permitting the air, which is oxygen, into the lungs, and the same channels carry the carbon dioxide out of the lungs. This also, when blended with Shadangdar explanation, shows that the carbon dioxide is pushed from Hriday Kamal, which is lungs, into the apastambha, which is tracheas, which carry the impure air towards the throat for expelling it out. Now there is a term which Shadangdar has mentioned, which is Patum Vishnu Padamrutam. Matlab Vishnu Padamrut matlab Akash or sky means the external environment, and the pranavayu exists through the kantha and comes out into the external environment. The second term mentioned by the Acharya is Pitvacha Ambar Piyusham. So Ambar Piyush means the nectar of sky, which is fresh air or oxygen, which is nothing short of the nectar of life, because we need it. The pranavayu, which is carbon dioxide, on coming out through the throat into the external environment, which is Vishnu Padamrita, takes up the Ambar Piyush. So here Ambar Piyush is oxygen. The air airborne with Ambar Piyush or pure air rushes into the body very quickly in great force. This statement shows that the body at all times is in grave need of Ambar Piyush or oxygen to run all its activities. So Vegatah or with force indicates the quickness with which the oxygen needs to be supplied to the body. It shows the urgency. So the Ambar Piyush coming into the body is put into circulation along with the Rasa and Rakta, which are the nutritive portion or nutritive part of food and blood, from the Hriday and nourishes the entire Deha, which is body, supports life and life activities and kindles the digestive fire. So what we have talked about earlier, let's conclude this. So the pranvayu, which is carbon dioxide located in the nabhi, which is right ventricle of the heart, is pumped into the Hriday Kamal, which are lungs, through the pulmonary arteries. From the lungs, the pranvayu given up by the deoxygenated blood comes out to the atmosphere, which is Vishnu Padamrit, through the kantha to allow fresh air or oxygen, which is Ambar Piyush, to enter the body through the air passages, lungs and blood, to nourish the tissues and to stimulate the digestive system and to maintain the life. The Ambar Piyush or Shuddha Vayu, after entering through the nasa, gains entry into the Hriday Kamal or Fufus, which is lungs. Here they get admixed with the blood, which has given away the pranvayu, and goes back to the Hriday or Nabhi. Hriday is the root of dhamanis, which carry the rasa to all the parts of body. Rasa and Ambar Piyush, which is nutrition and oxygen, travel through the same roots, same shiras and dhamanis. Even the modern science has the same concept of circulation of nutrition and oxygen through the heart and its vessels. So first you have to understand every term. First you have to go through these steps, then you have to understand every term, and then you have to come to the conclusion. And when you are coming to the final conclusion, you will come to know, okay, how this whole phenomena is taking place. Okay, then there is a rate of respiration. So what is rate of respiration? So when a person's respiratory rate is the number of breaths you take per minute, right? So the normal respiratory rate for an adult at rest is about 12 to 20 breath per minute. Okay, so here in Ayurveda, generally Ayurvedic literature does not discuss the rate of respiration, but other ancient literatures provide a scientific calculation on this. So here we are having the reference from the Shatpada Brahman, which has described that the number of respiration in a day and a night, which is in 24 hours, like he has mentioned this through one shloka, which is Shatam Shatani Purushaha Shatenasti Shataya Namitam Vadanti Ahoratrabhyam Purushaha Samena Tavat Krutva Praniti Chapaniti. You don't have to remember this shloka, or if you can remember this, that is fine, otherwise that is okay. You just have to mention the respiratory rate according to Ayurveda is 15 per minute. We are just counting how it comes to the 15. Okay, so here in this shlok, it has been mentioned that it has been counted. How it has been counted? That first word is shatam. So shatam matlab 100. Then there is shatani, shatam shatani, matlab 100 multiplied by 100, that is 10,000. Now 10,000 satenastu. So you have to add 800 satenastu into 10,000. So you have to add 800 into 10,000. Okay, so it would become 10,800, which is inspiration. Okay, the same figure is also for expiration also. So pran and apan in a day, which is called ahoratra, which is 24 hours, would be 10,800 plus 10,800, then it would become 21,600. Then we have to divide 21,600 by 24, because we are having 24 hours a day. So it would become 900 per hours. So now per hour consists of 60 minutes. So we have to divide 900 by 60 minutes. So we would get 15 times. So this is how the respiration per minute is about 15 times, which is average and ideal respiration. Okay, as I have told you that in modern science it has been said that it is between 12 to 20 when a person is in resting condition. Okay, so this is how you calculate the respiratory rate. Okay, so this is all about the physiology of respiration according to Ayurveda. We'll learn about the physiology of respiration when we'll learn about the respiratory system according to modern in future, right? So the next topic, which is the physiology of speech. Physiology of speech according to Ayurveda. So there is a shlok of Udan Vayu. We know that is Urahsanam Udanasya Nasanabhigalasharit Vak Pravrutti Prayatno Urja Balvarna Smriti Kriya. So these are the functions of Udan Vayu. We know that. So here speech is Vak Pravrutti. So Vak Pravrutti is the important function of Udan Vayu, and that is why we are talking about the physiology of speech while we are learning the Udan Vayu. Vak Pravrutti means to speak. This function takes place in the oral cavity. Vag Indriya is a Karmendriya. We know that there are Karmendriya and there are Gnanendriya, right? So Karmendriya are 5 and one of them is Vak Indriya, which is tongue, which resides on tongue, and that is a Karmendriya. What is tongue? So tongue is 3 angular broad muscular organ which is situated in the mouth cavity. Pointed part of tongue touches the various parts of mouth like teeth, lips and cheeks, and different types of words are produced. Sound that is emitted from throat gets verbal form in mouth. Svarvaha Srotas. The main organ is in the throat. In addition to that, mouth and nose are concerned with the sound production. Acharya Shushruta, while describing the Swarabhed, has mentioned Svarvaha Srotas. So basically, Srotas matlab we have to understand the channels. We'll learn about this in the future. There is a whole topic we have to learn. But here, but when we are talking about the Srotas, this Svarva Srotas is not, mentioned anywhere apart from the Shushruta in a Swarabhed Adhyaya. Swarabhed is one of the vikar, one of the rog, which has been mentioned by Shushruta, and there he has mentioned that there is a Svarvaha Srotas. So we got the reference of Svarvaha Srotas there. In Madhukosh commentary of Madhav Nidan, 4 Svarvaha Srotas are mentioned in the throat. Even Shabdavahi Dhamni are also explained in addition to Srotas. Vayu through Dhamani stimulates the Svarvaha Srotas and tongue for the function of speech. So basically we are collecting the references of production of speech according to Ayurveda. That is why we are taking references from every text of Ayurveda. You have to correlate everything, whatever you find. So speech and dosha or Mahabhut. So here we'll see the correlation between the speech and the doshas involved or Mahabhut involved. So speech is mainly concerned with the production of sound. Sound is an attribute of Akash Mahabhut. Akash is an open space in the chest and throat. Similarly, Svarvaha Srotas, mouth cavity and nose are also all the organs which are having the spaces. So entry of Vayu in Akash is the cause of production of sound. Prime requirement for speech. So for speaking, it is essential to hear those words. Speech is always an expression of the outcome of hearing. This is why the parents try to talk with a small kid constantly with words. So, following two practical observations are also worth to note. Which examples? First is the if auditory defect exists in a small child, he starts speaking late or something he can become, or sometimes he can become dumb due to deafness. Although there are many languages, the child speaks the same language which he hears repeatedly. In short, speech always depends on hearing. Sound. So there are types of sound according to the cause and the nature. First, we'll talk about the type of sound according to the causes. First is sanyogaj. Sanyogaj matlab by the union of two things. For example, if we are combining two hands, then there is a sound of clapping. Okay. Then there is a vibhagaj. So it is produced by the separation of the two things. Like when we cut the log of wood, so that it produces the sound, right? So it is vibhagaj sound. This is just an example. Then there is a shabdaj. Shabdaj matlab speech or talk of a person. And the other type of sound is according to the nature. First is dhanvyatmak, which is instrumental, which produced by tabla and sitar or guitar or any instrument. And then second is varnatmak, which is vacha or words. Coming from throat and mouth, language is vocal type of sound. Now we'll see this creation of sound, which is speech. Ayurvedic classics explain that Udan Vayu is responsible for the vocal language, songs, etc. Sound is produced firstly at the umbilical region and its manifestation occurs through mouth in 4 stages before its manifestation are as follows. First is sound. First is sound created at umbilical region, which is unaudible and self-experienced, as it is called as the paravani. Second is slightly audible sound at chest region, which is called as pashyanti vani. Then sound at the throat level is called as the madhyam vani. And after contact of tongue with different parts of mouth like cheek, palate, teeth, etc., manifestation of sound occur as specific words, and this is called the Vaikari Vani. So the process before speech. There is a particular process which takes place before the speech. And what is that? So acquiring knowledge is the basic requisite for the speaking. If you know about certain things, then and then you'll convert into the speech. So knowledge is gained through chain, like contact of cell with the mind, contact of mind with senses, and contact of senses with their objects. And this is how that is how knowledge can be acquired. So according to Ayurveda, Atma manasah sanyujyate. Atma and mana sanyog. Then mana indriyena. The sanyog of mana with indriya. Then indriye artham. The sanyog of indriya with their artha. And tata gnanaham. Then tatah gnanam. Then it produces the knowledge. So after acquiring knowledge, desire to speak develops. Mind gives stimulation to Udan Vayu, then sound begins at umbilical region, and after passing through larynx, manifests itself through the mouth. According to Panini, Siksha Sastra is a science of formation of words and pronunciation. First, Atma, with the help of Buddhi, decides about what to speak and what not. Then, according to the thought, meaning, and language, it stimulates the mind. Mind further stimulates the Kayagni, and Kayagni stimulates the Vayu. So, after proceeding through chest, larynx, and throat, Vat gets manifested in the mouth, and then articulation takes place through the mouth. Articulation matlab the formation of clear and distinct sound in speech. From the above words, it is clear that Kayagni also plays important role with Vayu. Sushrut in Shahristan has mentioned that Adhi Devata of Vak Karmendriya is Agni. In practice also, it is common experience that in the process of speech, one should know the relation of tissue strength and Kaya Agni. In chronic illness, when Kaya Agni lowers down and tissue strength decreases, the patient's voice become very weak. Here you have to understand the Kaya Agni matlab Jaఠragni, or which is digestive fire only. Now, spreading of sound waves. So in Ayurveda, two theories are mentioned to explain the spread of sound waves. First is Vichi Tarang Nyaya. Nyaya matlab theory and Vichi matlab wave. When the person speaks, wave is formed from the sound energy, and this wave itself forms another wave. This sound waves then spread in all the direction, and spreading of sound waves has been mentioned in other Nyaya, which is Kadam Mukul Nyaya. Mukul means bird. As the flower bird of Kadam tree blooms in all the direction, sound waves are also distributed in all the directions simultaneously. This is how the sound wave spreads. So this is all about the physiology of speech according to Ayurveda. Generally, in exam, physiology of respiration according to Ayurveda is being asked frequently, but sometimes this question can be also asked. So you have to write down about the, involvement of Udan Vayu, about Swarva Srotas, who has given the reference, the dosha or Mahabhut involved in speech, what are the prime requirement for speech, types of sound, creation of sound, the process before speech, and then the spreading of sound waves. So it was all about the physiology of speech. If you are having any query regarding these two topics, you can ask me through WhatsApp.